Is my mic working? Can you hear me? Still no sound? Hear you. Okay, good. Thank you, Haska-san. Thank you. Okay, it's Thursday night, and I said that I wouldn't be here, but it's put off till Monday because it's not ready for me. So, I emptied out the refrigerator, have the car all packed pretty much, and okay, so now I sit and wait. And I really, whatever is going on here, it is so not good. I want to show you some videos, of the cats that I took, and I'm just going to go backwards.
Miss any of my follow-up stories about what?
They have been literally sleeping all day. They already had dinner, and they got up to eat, and they're back to sleep again. And I am not feeling well. But again, it's hard for me to, point at any one particular reason for why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, because I have circumstances that would lead anybody to feel the way I'm feeling. The licking of the paws has become a thing with them, especially Bandit. When she's up, she's licking her paws. So look, it is definitely coming. So is little one. Babe still is the least affected, but I see him with his symptoms. He'll charge into the cabin, and he has to jump up on something. But there she is. I couldn't believe it. Like pretty much all day, nothing. I see nothing with the paws, but little one is doing the same thing. So I think it's some frequency that they're feeling, and they don't know what it's about. But I took a video early this morning, and I did hear some birds. It wasn't like I should hear. This place should be covered with birds, and it should be like a cacophony, of them screaming, when the sun rises and sets. Today was eerie. Today was very eerie because there was no sound out there. And here I am in the Blue Ridge Mountains. You would expect to hear some birds, especially when the sun is coming up. And I took a video of the dead silence. Which one is it, though? Is it this? No.
Do I hear a little one?
I do.
I hear a little one.
Oh. Where is it? That's Bandit. Bandit will come in and She wants to be on my lap. Oh, wow, I can't believe it. I missed it. I didn't download it. No, I think it's this one. It looks lighter in the video than it was. I mean, do you hear any birds? This is at like 6:30 in the morning. No birds. I hear one in the distance. It was a creepy day here. So I don't know what's going on here, but something definitely is. And we're getting severe weather tomorrow. I'm so... Look, they're killing off life. And I have never lived in an environment like this. It's scary. It's scary. When you're living in the Blue Ridge Mountains, you should be populated with an awful lot of species, and there's none. And so let me just say hello. Linty London, Judith Linfor, hello. Hypocrites Matrix, Sherry Hughes, thank you. Rage Against the Machine. Let me go back up and just Barb in Ohio. Hey, Daryl Calhoun. Step Down, hey, Oracle 11, Eli D, Marty and Sherry, thank you very, very much. Rainy Cascadius, Cecilia Amarati, and Haskasun, hey, Jay Wooms, I'm a Skeptic, Analog Synth Player. Whew. Heather Dodge. Wow. Something to chew on. Amber Eyes. Linda W. T. Lamb. You know, it's funny. T. Lamb writes, I remember when I was a child, a blind person told me the birds tell them when it's morning. Times have changed. I loved right before the sun came up, that time, because it was so quiet. And even in Manhattan, or, well, I was living in Brooklyn at the time, but I would get a cup of coffee and sit out on my fire escape and wait to hear that first bird, even in New York City. And then just watch life come about. That's not happening here. It really should be happening here. I loved, you know, until I became until my life just got destroyed by Big Pharma. I slept beautifully. I loved going to sleep early, so I would wake up really early. For the longest time, I always loved hearing that first bird. It would be one bird, just a chirp. I'd be like, yeah. Don't hear it. Don't hear it. So, all right, guys. This is life today. Our country is so done. It is done. Trump pleads not guilty. Stares down Jack Smith. MAGA no-show. Could die in prison. The Don threatens retribution. This is life. I mean, it really represents life in this country. You know, how we relate to one another. And I'm talking, generally speaking, not talking about everyone, but everything's a fight. Everything's a fight. And look, this is another staged event, of course, but not too many MAGA supporters, were out. But it's D.C., the Democrat capital of probably the world, the liberal capital of the world. So probably got scared, and not because, the red hats are far more fearless than the blue hats, but they know the blue hats are crazy. Anyway, but everything's about retribution and revenge and, but we love to play the game that we're not any of that. Oh, give me a break. So this is radar right now. Nice pulse. Dangerous pulse, Montana. And Florida down here had a real ripping apart of the atmosphere, which I'll show you in captures. So even though this rain, we did get rain today, but even though this rain is passing, more severe weather is coming tomorrow night for Alabama, North Georgia, South Carolina, upstate South Carolina. And the twinkling of the nanobots have kind of risen on up. They were down here in Arizona and New Mexico, the Four Corners, for days and days, just circling about, and then they went into Nevada. Now they're, kind of taking over Wyoming, going into South Dakota and Montana. This string of supercells, well, when you see these supercells, you now think tornadic activity, hail, severe winds, torrential downpours. Now, it might be, a very small percentage of, whether or not you're going to be getting any tornadoes, but we've seen these tornadoes. We sure have seen tornadoes coming about anywhere. So let me show you some captures. And this was at 6:51.
Like the Gettysburg Address.
6:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look at this up here in North Dakota. That is really, that's high-powered Doppler radar, high frequencies, the plasma creation. These frequencies, I took several captures today because I'll show you how the frequencies change. You got this frequency that's hitting the base of of what they're now calling training storms. I'm hearing that term now. I haven't heard it for a while, but now I'm hearing it on a daily basis. Oh, the training storms, the training storms. It's a train. It's a train. Really? Look at the amount of rainfall for Missouri and Missouri. So look at this. Look at these frequencies hitting. It's kind of like the base of the storm opens up and just is getting ransacked with an awful lot of frequencies. Also from Iowa, but really? Okay. You see the extremely low frequencies here and here in, what am I looking at? Arkansas. So this was at 8:57 a.m. So what, about 2 hours later? And you have more frequencies. These frequencies were turned on down here in North Carolina into South Carolina. And more frequencies north coming from Indiana or Ohio hitting the storm. And a whole mess down here. Look at it. It almost takes on a rectangle shape right here. Right there. Of all of these frequencies. So, this is not good. It isn't good for any of us. This is at 11:29 a.m. Whoa, what's happening in Florida? Okay. Doppler radar. They have increased the power of the high frequencies. But now the frequencies are looking different. Texas, whoa, now we've got these frequencies going on from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Again, this is like a daily happening for these states, Wisconsin and Michigan. Dutch since explained this quite well. What you saw happening in Florida, I just call it ripping apart the atmosphere. But look at this. You see this little nanobot that's going in the opposite direction, an opposite direction than this weather front. It's going on north, going up north, while this is going kind of in a southeast direction. The air masses, oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. So I was listening to Weatherman Plus, and he's talking about, look, even now on satellite, you can see the ripple effect that they are including in forecasts. Okay, they're including that in forecasts. I hope you can see it. Let me do a close-up. Okay, all of the ripple effect, ripples down here in Alabama, in Kansas, and I think they're doing that because there's going to be an increase of microwaves in particular, and this is like the engineering of the American mind. Oh, okay, so I guess that's natural. No, it's not natural at all. Not natural at all. So I do want to play a bit. Here he talks about the extreme weather that is coming. So let me play just a few minutes. I'm on Never Lose Truth 5. And I'm going to throw his link in the chat. I do, yeah, it's an annoying factor for me that they don't mention weather modification. Okay, well, that they don't. Okay, but they do keep on it in terms of what weather is coming your way. And considering the weather, I really hope that you are subscribed to some of these YouTube meteorologists like Ryan Hall and others, because the weather, their forecasts are changing. You know, I see the titles. The titles are like, got a change in the weather pattern. Okay, another change. But let's listen to a few minutes.
But we do have a tornado threat for today. It's a 2%, but it's in multiple areas as well. So here's your cities and states at risk for your tornadoes for today. Now you see you do have your storms for this morning. You even have that bowing out feature for damage and winds that has been coming up on this MSC, a mesoscale vortex. And that is spinning all around all morning long, all afternoon long, going towards the southeast, while you get some cells moving towards the intercoastal northeast, mostly towards the New England states, all the way till later tonight. Then for tomorrow, this is going to come right back in again, swing right around that high pressure, right around that dome of heat, bring some more storms towards the south. Then we're going to go into Friday, where we're going to start the beginning of this very strong storm that is getting even stronger, guys. Now, these winds will start going towards the southeast, towards Alabama, eastern Tennessee, and towards northern Georgia as you go into later this evening. And then for tomorrow, it's going to spark right back up, going towards western Tennessee, going towards northern Alabama, even portions of Georgia as well. But you can see as you go towards Friday morning, it's starting to bring in that 50 and 60, maybe even higher miles per hour wind gusts. Coming with that system, it is going to be powerful, and it is carrying all the way towards the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and the intercoastal northeast. But you can see with the National Weather Service model, all this rain is coming through all the way until tomorrow night, coming across the central, Tennessee, Kentucky Valley, and the southeast. Then as we go into Friday, that storm starts coming across the upper Midwest, and this will continue to carry across the Great Lakes and the Northeast. But it is adding up very heavy rainfall all the way until Friday afternoon with this first system. You are going to get some rainfall a little over an inch for the New England states, but for eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky and Tennessee, eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, also northern Alabama and Georgia. Now this is getting a hot spot for eastern Tennessee, getting almost up to 6 inches rainfall rates. And then that next system is going to come on through, and this is going to bring more towards the Ohio Valley. But until then, all the way till Sunday morning, you have 2+ inches of rainfall for southern Montana, northern Wyoming, southern North Dakota, all across South Dakota. You even get some for Nebraska, for Kansas, and southern Minnesota. This heaviness is going to keep going across. So let's go through the impacts on this next storm.
You might want to click on the link and listen to the full video, because severe weather is, yeah, it's coming. So again, the sinkhole, China, okay, northern China. So when I was on the last time, I showed Beijing. This is northern China with a huge sinkhole.
对，现在已经灌满了，我不知道现在我们这栋楼是什么情况，就是洪水还一直冲刷着我们这个楼。我们这边已经断水、断电、断气儿了，请求有点支援。
心里担心嘛，着急嘛，担心。对，至少，但是现在还是幸运的，还至少感觉那个当时我怕，楼上房子要是顶那么怕，我怕会倒的那种。
40多名消防员携带水域救援装备，徒步10多公里，挺进门头沟区接近2米，多间房屋被淹。
需要转移出去的村民啊，到外边没有水的这样一些安置点。那在昨天的时候呢，在
I wonder if the Chinese actually got the news about the weather modification in China. And don't think that we're any different, because an awful lot is happening in our country and we don't know about it anymore because the censorship just gets worse and worse.
Your well water could be compromised. The Vermont Health Department wants all Vermonters who have a well or spring water system to get what they're calling an emergency drinking water testing kit. The kits are designed to test your water for bacteria and nitrates and nitrites. The health department says in an event like the recent storm, floodwaters usually collect a lot of runoff. 3,700 tests have been given out so far, and almost half of the results that have come back to the department are contaminated with bacteria.
I actually think that the torrential downpours affected the well here because for about 2 days, and it was only in, which was weird, it was only in the bathroom, not the kitchen sink, that it was brown, not like a light brown. So, yeah, get your well water tested as much as you can because, they're doing things that can really, well, screw up the water for everyone. Flash flooding underway in Missouri. There was high winds.
But there unfortunately has been some damage here. I've got some video here of a tree that has crushed a home not too far outside St. Louis. So clearly winds in those thunderstorms that were moving through parts of Missouri yesterday were strong enough to topple over some trees there. And in this particular situation,
Okay, so just a reminder, they can bring this kind of damage anywhere. Don't think that, it won't happen to me. And this is, will climate change pop the housing bubble? Well, climate change and the policies and the insurance industry going down, and you're not going to be able to get a mortgage if you can't get insurance, and if your insurance is canceled and you can't get insurance, eventually the bank is going to say, well, if you can't get insured, we're going to have to do something about this mortgage here. Yeah. You will own nothing, but you'll be happy. Don't worry.
Rent and home prices have gone up even faster than inflation over the last decade, and increasingly, weather is a factor. Building more homes does help decrease prices, but extreme weather disasters decrease home supply by making many unlivable and by keeping builders busy with repairs instead of creating more homes. But maybe even more important right now is this. We could be reaching a tipping point for housing in the U.S. as insurance companies stop writing home insurance policies in places with high risk of disasters and others that go out of business altogether. 63% of homes in the U.S. have mortgages. Almost all of those are required to have insurance to mitigate the owner's and lender's risk. But what happens if an insurer drops policies after an extreme event? It may mean those homes are overvalued. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? That was caused in large part by overvalued and risky mortgages. So when headlines like this start popping up in 2023, we had to look deeper.
If people can't secure insurance, how can a bank keep offering loans for homes and businesses? One or two major events could be the tipping point.
In this episode, we're gonna find out what happens if an insurance market fails and show where the highest risk lie.
If you have any desire to listen to PBS with their climate change lies, click on the link below. But everything is collapsing. It truly is. Everything is collapsing. Companies with good ESG scores pollute just as much as those with low ones. ESG is nothing but a scam. Don't we know it? Don't we know it? You know, ESG is kind of like the social credit system for companies, and the whole thing is rigged. The whole thing is rigged. You do know that, right? Okay, I hope so. The BBC gets salty as the public mock their climate scaremongering. We got a problem, and I'm going to put his link in the chat for his channel. And let's listen to a few minutes of his BBC Gets Salty.
Guys, get ready for the period blood red UK weather maps to come back as the BBC tell us summer's due to return to the UK. This, as you know, they really wanted to be here during the European heatwave they called a Cerberus Inferno or some shit, but was actually just a normal summer. The BBC, for instance, told us it was going to hit 46 degrees in Italy, despite it not getting over 40 according to actual recorded temperatures, you know, from correct readings instead of the bullshit they claimed. This, they said, was because the 46 degrees they claimed was a prediction or something like that, which is a weak excuse, but okay, we'll give it to them. The trouble is, they must realise it means they can't expect us to believe their predictions about the weather and climate in 10, 20 or 100 bloody years. I mean, if you can't predict the weather on the same day, how can you accurately do it years down the bloody line? Obviously you can't, so the BBC's refuted its own bullshit while trying to cover up more bullshit they pumped out.
You're an imbecile.
This they obviously hoped people never caught onto, but thankfully plenty of people did, and I expect that's why the latest post had them mocking them for red pens and shit like that, which got the imbecile running the BBC Weather Twitter account a bit salty, as we'll see.
How fun!
First, though, the BBC tweeted about the coming sunshine where they said, "We have an important announcement for those fed up with being rained on. After 6 weeks of being AWOL, we have finally found summer." Now, to me, the BBC find it important because they can bring out the deep reds again, and many people mocked them for that, which got this response from the super salty BBC, like I said. They wrote, "We have very detailed records of past climate from ice cores, plankton, tree rings, oxygen isotope ratios in coral and foramina fauna. We know that greenhouse gases are warming our planet. If you have some scientific insight, you should publish it and have it peer-reviewed." Well, first off, there's plenty of scientific insight discrediting the crap the BBC climate con artists spew, but getting it published is impossible because,
you know, we own the science.
Yeah, scientists who want funding and their work to be recognised cannot speak out against the great climate con because the scientific establishment have been captured by the globalist scumbags.
You know, we own the science and we think that the world, you know, should know it.
But the BBC clearly have no idea that saying they have detailed records of past climate from ice cores, tree rings and all that is not the slam dunk they might think it is. This is because when you look at ice cores and all that shit, you actually see it was a lot hotter many times over the course of history, to the point that ice cores suggest it was like 4 degrees hotter during past prehistoric periods. But you don't even need to go that far back really, as we've got the medieval warm period in the 1400s and of course the Roman warm period during their time. That was about a degree or two higher on average and has been known about for a while, as many of you do. Now, it should be said that they're trying to discredit using the previous warm period, saying they were just regional climate events while claiming now it's worldwide. This we can prove to be bollocks because while Europe had its terrifying Cerberus heatwave, the UK got bathed in almost constant rain. That there makes what they're calling global climate change with this heatwave a regional event that don't even include all of Europe, does it? So what I'm essentially saying is the BBC are talking shit and in their uncontrollable salt after being called out for red pens and all that, they actually helped disprove their bollocks even more. I think someone at the BBC needs to tell the tit running the account to wind his neck in before he disproves more of their crap for us.
It's not a computer voice. It was his voice. And yeah, get your red crayons out. Oh, here.
You've read the headlines, you've seen the reports. Climate change, the catastrophic turmoil that we're all facing.
Our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of like fear, like climate?
Yeah, fear sells. Fear sells. Climate thing is going to take years, so they'll probably be able to milk that for quite a bit.
And we know, based upon what Charlie Chester at CNN said, that this has been in the works for a long time.
This summer feels like a page torn from the book of Revelation.
President Biden has treated climate change with the urgency it requires.
We really want to pretend these things are normal.
What we're talking about right now is record after record after record after record.
They've already announced in our office that once the public will be open to it, we're going to start focusing mainly on climate, like global warming, and like that's going to be our next, it's going to be our focus.
What does that look like?
Right? I have a feeling it's just going to be like constantly showing videos of like decline in ice and weather warming up and like the effects it's having on the economy and really diving into it.
Maybe you work for an environmental organization or you work for a media organization where you know that they're portraying it as a masquerade. They're striking fear into the hearts of Americans. As Charlie Chester says, that's what it's really about. Well, you can contact us at O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. Get a camera and expose it all.
So that's like the next
pandemic like story that will beat to death.
So climate change overload.
Be prepared, it's coming.
If we stopped burning fossil fuels, the temperature would start to stabilize. It's real, it's happening now, and we know what to do to stop it.
And it's all a lie. We're going to start focusing mainly on climate change. When the public is ready for it, we're on it. Fear sells. Wow. Well, too bad. A whole lot of people are just not open to having, serious conversations about what is taking place. And they're using this to literally destroy every aspect of our lives. We've got an awful lot of awake who are just sitting back doing nothing, not doing anything in terms of, well, it's coming to them. Will you lose your mortgage because you happen to be in an area where there's fires or flooding? Is your insurance just going to continue to increase to a point where you just can't afford it? There's so much that's involved in this, Oh, wow, man. Get rid of your gas stoves, get rid of your air conditioning, get rid of your incandescent lights. Eliminating fossil fuels will produce a crippling decline in human well-being. Yeah. In 1999, American climatologist Michael Mann, I can't even stomach reading his name, published a hockey stick graph. Remember that? Oh, laughable. It purported to show an unprecedented spike in global temperature over the past century. And guess what? It didn't. Okay. Mann's graph was featured in the 2001 report of the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel, okay? Intergovernmental Panel. Get the L in there. Intergovernmental, not interscience. Intergovernmental Panel, where they write policy for governments. You know, how the governments need to change every aspect of their citizens' lives to go along with Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, which was already debunked by a whole lot of the real climatologists. Yeah. In 2005, Canadian researchers Steve McIntyre and Ross McKittrick raised serious doubts about the principal component analysis in the hockey stick graph. In 2015, author Mark Stein published A Disgrace to the Profession. A Disgrace to the Profession, which compiled the views of more than 100 world-class scientists who were skeptical of Mann's research methods and the degree of public hysteria generated by his predictions. American philosopher and energy expert Alex Epstein released his second book on the moral case for the use of fossil fuels in Fossil Future: Why Global Human Flourishing Requires More Oil, Coal, and Natural Gas, not less. He argued that the looming climate emergency and imminent renewable revolution have been enormously overstated. That's a polite way of saying lie. Epstein asserted that fossil fuels are still the main source of affordable energy in the world and that policies aimed at reducing the use of coal, oil, gas are creating skyrocketing energy prices, which have already produced rampant inflation, and that's one of the points around this climate change hysteria. But it's so hard for people to get that there could be people that evil that they would lie so outrageously, and the lies, oh no, oh my God, I was doing that. Oh no, Okay, well, I actually stretched my fingers quite a lot. That they could lie so outrageously, and the lies, the consequences of the lies, are bringing about a whole lot of suffering, where people can't afford to heat their homes, to cool their homes. They just can't believe that there could be so many people involved. Well, open your brain, open your mind, allow some information into the brain, into the mind, and, just kind of toss it about a wee bit. There's a lot of evil people on the planet. And look at this, man. All right. Yeah. Greenpeace.
Minister, other leading figures, I also think ourselves as well, frankly. 5 Greenpeace protesters who scaled Rishi Sunak's home in Yorkshire have now been arrested. Campaigners were seen at Rishi Sunak's private home draping a massive oil-black piece of fabric over the roof. Mr. Sunak and his family are currently away on holiday in California, but that is not the point. That is absolutely not the point. They were not to know who may have been at that home. There is nothing now, I would argue as well, stopping them doing it to your house or other celebrities' houses or the politicians' houses or anything along these lines whatsoever. And I think they are getting more and more and more extreme, and it is going to be a problem unless it is nipped in the bud now.
Oh, come on. So they draped this black curtain over his home. He's not even there. He's in California, probably hanging out with Newsom. And a whole lot of the top tier officials in these movements, in these organizations, know exactly what they're doing. They know it's a lie. And then they get an awful lot of just these gullible people, you know, thinking that the world is going to end, and bring it on. Bring on all of the protests. The useful idiots right here in red. Hyundai and Kia recall 91,000 U.S. vehicles over fire risks. Thanks, Marty, for sending this. They urge owners to park outside. That's right. Hyundai and Kia said on Thursday they are recalling more than 91,000 newer vehicles in the U.S. because of fire risks, and urged owners to park outside and away from structures pending repairs. Here are all the calls. Cars, the recall cars: Palisade, Tucson, Sonata, Elantra, Kona, Sportage, Soul. Yeah, these flippin' evil shitheads. Anyway, Korean automakers said electronic controllers for the idle stop and go oil pump assembly may contain damaged electrical components that can cause the pump to overheat. Owners will be notified in late September. Why are they waiting? Well, I guess maybe this Reuters piece is enough. Why would they wait? They're waiting until late September to notify the owners and dealers. Okay. Well, I hope you all came across the Reuters report on this, and eventually you'll get your notification that you should not park your car in your garage and keep it away from your home, because it may just erupt in fire. When you're not even in the car, it's not turned on. But we've seen this over and over and over again. These cars, these electric vehicles, are erupting in fire out of nowhere. And check this out.
Car in the extreme heat. A 73-year-old Peoria man says he couldn't get out. ABC 15 investigator Jennifer Kovaleski with the major safety alert tonight. What you need to know before you ever get inside an electric vehicle.
This is a Tesla Model Y SUV.
Rick Megason's a Tesla guy.
But you're really driving a computer, and we all know what happens with computers.
Sometimes they fail. Do you think this is a safety concern?
It's definitely a safety concern.
On a June day in Peoria, Arizona.
It was one of the hotter days.
Rick says he got into his Tesla, closed the door, and nothing worked.
I couldn't open the doors. I couldn't lower the windows. The computer was dead, so I couldn't open the glove box. I couldn't open anything.
He says he couldn't get himself out.
The entire car was literally dead.
And we're not talking about the lithium-ion battery needed to propel the car. Rick says it had plenty of charge, plenty of miles to drive.
The battery lives behind this.
Turns out, a separate hidden 12-volt battery runs what's inside a Tesla.
It's not really accessible by the driver.
The low-voltage battery opens the doors, runs the computer display, and lets you roll down the windows. Rick says his 12-volt battery died without warning after he got into his Tesla, leaving him trapped inside on a 100-degree day for 20 minutes.
Being caught in there for a couple of hours could be dangerous.
Eventually, Rick says he called his sister, who somehow got the passenger door to open through the Tesla app, but it cracked his window.
I think that Tesla needs to address this.
He says a tow truck took his still very dead Tesla to the company's service center. The diagnosis from his invoice: car won't power on. Remove and replace 12-volt battery.
It's essentially a computer on wheels that's run on a battery.
Norma Hubel is a car safety expert and founder of the autoprofessor.com, a database website that ranks how cars perform in crashes.
If that battery is not reliable, or if for some reason the consumer isn't aware of how to override a problem with the battery, then we could have real safety problems.
When the electric system fails, there is a way to get out of an electric car, and it's clearly outlined in Tesla's manual.
I feel that there's not enough knowledge about it.
Firefighter and paramedic Paul Shoemaker instructs emergency workers on how to save lives in car crashes. Late last year, he showed us how the emergency latch can be hard to find in many electric cars, and every electric car is different.
If I was to lose power in this car door like I have lost right now, absolutely no power in this door, I can pull this as hard as I want, and this car door will not open. There is a mechanical override, which is down here in the carpet. And if you look right here where we've skinned the vehicle, you can see what it looks like.
And in the Tesla Model Y, there's a significant difference between the back and front seat.
This black thing here, if you reach all the way under and pull up, that's an escape latch.
Rick says he didn't know there was another way to get out until it was too late and he was already stuck. He says employees at the Tesla service center showed him the emergency release latch.
It's not labeled. You don't know it's there unless you know it's there.
The button that you use every single day to get in and out of your car no longer works. You have to transition to a lever.
Shoemaker says because most people don't read their manual.
There are incidents across the United States where people are getting trapped in their car.
The ABC 15 investigators found dozens of Tesla drivers have filed complaints about 12-volt battery failures with the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. NHTSA is the federal agency responsible for safety and can force safety recalls.
That says to me that we need to look at this as a potential threat to human life.
Just this month, the driver filed this complaint with NHTSA, writing, "The car was completely dead with my dogs inside. I live in Palm Springs. It was 90 degrees and sunny outside." Another driver on July 14th reported, 12-volt battery failed without warning. Car was parked, was unresponsive. Last October, a Model 3 owner wrote, "This is clearly a design flaw that should be corrected."
Volumes speak volumes.
Rick says Tesla did send him a text alert about his 12-volt battery.
It simply said, replace your battery.
But he says that text came too late, after his car was towed.
But it needs to say that earlier. It died first. I hope that, by letting the people know about this, that maybe make people a little safer.
Oh my God. Wow. These electric vehicles are something, huh? Don't you just love it? Don't you love the interview? Do you think that's a safety issue? Yeah, I think it could be a safety issue. I think that Tesla needs to look into this. You think? You think maybe they should tell the person who's buying the car that should that battery die, that's not really accessible to you, here's a manual, here, the lever, where the lever is. I would think that that's really important. I don't know, but wow, man. So, Wuhan virus is back. Have you noticed mainstream media? Have you noticed that they're on it? They are on it. They're bringing back COVID.
The Wuhan virus is back. The number of cases on the rise again. Hospitalizations also have increased. Is this a new outbreak? And should you be worried? The United States is reporting the biggest COVID-19 spike since December 2022. Hospitalizations have gone up by over 10% between the 9th of July and the 15th. COVID-19 test sales have jumped by more than a third. Also on the rise is the number of people testing positive for the Wuhan virus after a visit to the emergency room. And the US is not a one-off case, by the way. Some other countries as well are seeing an uptick in the Wuhan virus numbers. In the UK, for example, nearly 790,000 people had symptomatic COVID-19 as of the 29th of July. The Zoe Health app is reporting a 30% rise in daily cases, and this is as compared to the start of the month of July. In Japan, Wuhan virus cases have reportedly increased fourfold between May and July. So is this trend indicative of another Wuhan virus wave? Let's just...
Oh, well, if they want it, they're going to bring it on. For sure. For sure. So, let's go here. Against our limitless regime. Just going to read paragraph. An empire of lies. More and more people are writing about how we are just a country or a people of the lie. From war across the globe to regulating speech to printing trillions of dollars, the American regime accepts no limits on its power. The state will take as much power as the people will let it. Ludwig von Mises. Is it Mrs. Mises? The state will take as much power as the people will let it. That's our part in this play. We let it. And there's still people who just can't seem to accept that we might have some responsibility in this nightmare we're living. So, in recent years, the American regime has clearly concluded it can get away with unilaterally adopting vast new powers. Unconstitutional, but they do it anyway because the American people are about their pursuit of happiness. And here's a lie. The Washington Post, even mainstream media is coming out, finally, admitting, oh, Biden does lie. 4 Pinocchios. The Washington Post admits Biden lied about Hunter not accepting money from China, but still, where are the people? President Joe Biden has been a regular recipient of Pinocchios by the Washington Post for his false statements on subjects ranging from election laws to abortion protections to deficit reduction. Biden is undeterred, and regularly repeats false stories from his life that have ranged from an invented arrest with Nelson Mandela to a zombie-like train conductor. Undeterred, this week, he continued with the false claim about the Joey baby conductor. What the... People listen to this, and I can't believe it. It's like, oh, wow. Wow. Now the president has a fresh set of 4 Pinocchios. That's what the Washington Post does. Twitter just puts on a banner on Biden's tweets saying, this is false information. Oh, wow. Okay, so, yeah. It's as quiet in our country with everything going on as it is here. Where are the birds? We should be hearing birds. We're not hearing anything. It's completely and utterly silent. And it's 8 o'clock. The sun, well, we've had the full out cloud day. Where are they? Where are the people? Yeah, Pinocchios, but the false claim is far more serious than inventing a conductor or rewriting the history of the Second Amendment. The Post is admitting that Biden has been lying about his son Hunter, who apparently never made money from China. Now we know millions and millions. We knew before the Washington Post gave the Pinocchios. But at least, you would think that those who are still reading that horse shit that's published by the Washington Post, New York Times, when they're seeing their papers, the liberal faction of the country, when they're seeing those publications, Biden lying, well, they read it and then they just throw the paper away and go about their business. Who cares, right? Who cares? It is the latest indication that the protective media wall surrounding Biden is beginning to crumble under the weight of new evidence in the corruption scandal. Glenn Kessler wrote yesterday in this post, that Washington Post, that Biden has repeatedly and categorically maintained that his son did not receive money from China, but now, this is a quote from the article, but now, nearly 3 years later, Biden's assertions have been directly rebutted by Hunter himself. In court testimony last week, the younger Biden acknowledged that he, in fact, had been paid substantial sums in China, the first official confirmation that this was the case. It's unbelievable to me that hardly anyone cares. San Francisco public transit is completely empty. Completely empty. What does that mean? San Francisco, one of the best cities in the world for a whole long time, is now being gutted, trashed, brought down deliberately. And when we see this affects an awful lot of people who can't get out of San Francisco.
Paris, London, New York, Shanghai, Beijing, Tokyo, and Singapore is pretty laughable, but it still shows you how many lost office workers that exist in San Francisco. So remember, BART's, it's very unique because it really all just deviates towards one single point of the map, which is going to be downtown San Francisco. This is going to be where most of their offices are, right? If you check out downtown San Francisco, like for example, Montgomery Station, you do see a huge skew of massive office towers and massive office buildings. Salesforce is here, Slack is here, well, I guess it used to be here, Reddit is here, Twitter is here, Lyft is here. You get the idea. The big tech corpos all are in this area. This is why I have so many massive blue skyscrapers. But if you look at the transportation numbers, it's actually pretty shocking. But once you look at how many people no longer go to San Francisco, it's not that shocking anymore because San Francisco lost 150,000 office workers. That is something not to laugh at, since the population of San Francisco in a whole is 800,000 people. So if they lost over almost 200,000 office workers, the city is pretty screwed up. And even The Guardian is having a pretty good laugh against San Francisco, saying vacant skyscrapers and empty trains, can the city once again reinvent itself? And a lot of you guys in the comment section in previous videos say no. And I fully agree. San Francisco really screwed itself up. In fact, some of you guys even say that San Francisco is almost like it's purposely doing this. Here's the thing about San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area. If they just run the city normally, it wouldn't really end up like this, right? If they just make the city like all right to live in, not to make it pristine or anything, just make it like not have poop on the floor or maybe not have homeless encampments in every single street and corner, maybe you'll get a lot of businesses moving back, and several tech companies are probably moving back as well. This is pretty shocking. The number of riders on the BART system is around 40% of what it was before the pandemic. Guys, we're not talking about 4%. We're not talking about 5%. We're not talking about 10%. We're talking about 40%. This is almost half of what it was before the pandemic. And only 30% for riders who exit in downtown San Francisco. So barely anyone goes to San Francisco anymore on the BART. A lot of them, they do travel through the Bay Area a little bit, maybe a little bit through Oakland, but that's really about it, right? Some of them, they go up a little bit to, the universities and stuff like that, but that's kind of like where most of the ridership for BART is located. If you check out this video, it's pretty interesting. So on the left, you have the Salesforce Transit Center. This is like what Salesforce spent $2.2 billion on, where buses and in the future, underground trains will be located. Nobody's here, okay? And this is supposed to be like a working day, okay? I see 2 people in the front and 2 people in the distance. And check out this, which is in Tokyo. This isn't even that big of a location. We're looking at the #1 place for transit, which is downtown San Francisco. The skyscrapers are being completely empty. I guess 4 people and a security guard. And then over here you have Tokyo, and this train station isn't even considered their central train station, okay? This isn't like a massive one like the one you see on the left.
And if you want to listen to the remainder of the video, the link is in the chat. But I've shown you videos of, Market Street, a channel that walks around San Francisco showing what San Francisco has become. And it's almost, it's almost like an abandoned city. I mean, looking at it, you're like, where are the people? Market Street is like the street for San Francisco. I showed it, I don't know, about a week ago, and there was almost no one there. Plus the fact he was showing how many stores are closed. Like blocks and blocks of closed companies, closed stores. It's remarkable. It is truly remarkable. Now, shipping prices will double from current levels as supply chain nightmare begins. The Epic Economist, I will put the link in the chat. We're in big trouble. We are in big trouble. In fact, manufacturing sector loses jobs for 5th straight month. So why did X now? You got to get used to calling it X. It's no longer Twitter. It's X. On one of Biden's tweets, and of course we know that he has a whole army of people for social media. But in a recent, like 2 days ago, when Biden was tweeting out how fabulous the economy is and how the wages have increased, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. Manufacturing sector loses jobs for 5th straight month. Wage growth slowing. And I will also put the link in Jeremiah Babe. Warning. Oh, wow. Bandit, why do you have to come up that way? It looks scary. She jumps quite a distance to get on the porch. So, warning, bank closures and trucking companies collapsing means big trouble ahead. And the Fitch credit downgrade, which I had included in live stream 2 nights ago, but freight volume and spending declined markedly in second quarter. Okay, all of these headlines, you just have to read the headlines to know that we're in big trouble. Stop listening to lies. Start telling people they're being lied to. Trucking is in the midst of a significant slowdown, weaker consumer demand for goods, and a slowdown in manufacturing activity and housing starts are having a major impact on the industry, especially carrier operations. Nationwide shipment levels have now decreased for 5 consecutive quarters. In the second quarter, volume dropped most in the Northeast and at 27.1%, and Southeast 12.6% year over year. The Southwest continued to be a bright spot, with shipments increasing 14.8%. Oh boy, I wish that home in Arizona was available now. We're in trouble. Big, big, big trouble. San Francisco Airbnb hosts struggle to rent homes amid the city's barrage of bad press. Is it bad press, or is it actually real press? The truth, the crime, the emptiness of the city, it's affecting an awful lot of people who need, especially those who are on limited incomes. Their Airbnbs are not being rented because people don't want to come to San Francisco anymore.
Rates. Now, before the pandemic, 85% of the city's hotel rooms were constantly booked. Right now, that number's down to only 65%. And it's not only hotels. Airbnb hosts are feeling the pinch. In fact, our Itai Hod talked to some renters who are waiting for their summer booking calendars to fill up.
13 years ago, Catherine Bloom was looking for a way to make extra money when she stumbled on a Craigslist ad for a little-known startup called Airbnb. It was so new that when she signed up, she was only the 36th host in San Francisco.
Having this extra stream of income just is a cushion that really helps. It's been a real godsend, in fact.
Even though times were a little tough during the pandemic, last year guests started to return with more reservations than she could ever handle.
Here's July of 2022, August. Look how busy August was. September was good, October was good, November.
But these days, her home, which she affectionately calls the nest, is empty.
And now here we are, July of 2023, August, September, October, November.
The few people who inquire, she says, are hesitant to book because of safety concerns.
People are saying, oh, it's a terrible place and there's crime everywhere. I think that that's unfortunately had an impact on people coming to visit.
San Francisco.
Yeah, of course. So, Donna Ray writes, boo, be scared, everyone, or get your gardens and communities going stat. Guess what? There's an awful lot of people who don't have that luxury. They're not as privileged as an awful lot of people who have the acreage to put in a garden. There's an awful lot of people who are trying to work a garden, but the geoengineering is kind of killing off their gardens. There's an awful lot of people who have had gardens and they've been flooded out. So, there's an awful lot of people who actually are suffering the consequences of all of the external factors hitting them. Okay? So it's not about being scared, but there's an awful lot of people who do not have gardens. Be scared or do something about it. There's a lot of people who are stuck in the shit and can't do anything about it. Sure wish we had communities and trustworthy people in our lives so that we could banter about some ideas, but that's not what we have anymore. So, and San Francisco landlords may lose everything. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat. But landlords, the small landlords, and even, the landlords who are corporate landlords, people are leaving San Francisco in droves. In droves. I mean, huge amounts of people leaving. And all of, the policies that are being implemented are destroying the small landlords. You will own nothing and be happy. Meanwhile, in San Francisco.
That is one big pile of shit.
Okay, so you get that? All right, you got a carjacking. They crash into this wall. They get out. They start running up the steps. They're caught, and the DA won't prosecute. See, for all of the people who are prepping, they also should be screaming at the top of their lungs that we are literally being destroyed purposefully. And yeah, I know, oh my God, calm down, Carol, don't get upset, this was meant to be, it was meant to be. Well, yeah, I don't go along with that, and our silence is consent to the destruction. Mayor Johnson addresses latest Chicago teen takeover for first time. Yeah, he got upset because all of those, and I've shown it, the teens, in numbers of 20, 30, 50, sometimes 100, the ransacking 7-Eleven stores, jumping on cars, busting out the windows of the cars, and creating an awful lot of crazy violence. The new mayor of Chicago doesn't like the fact that a journalist said that they were a mob. Don't call them a mob. I guess they're just troubled teens. No, he actually said they were large gatherings. Large gatherings, not a mob. It's a large gathering. So you have this kind of stuff in blue cities going on, and it's not good, because it means every single day you live vulnerable to crime, to being a victim of crime. Cops open fire on hostage-taking kidnappers after 4-hour standoff in victim's semi-truck.
Hello, Sergeant Norwood, London Police. The reason I stopped you, it's 0 taillights in the back of this thing at all.
Oh my God.
There's not a light on it.
I just came from the ER.
Okay.
I poked myself in the eye.
Oh gosh.
And,
are you kidding me? There's not a single light back there. Your brake lights work when you hit your brakes though, so that is a plus. What's that about, dude? 5, they're taking off. It's Colorado, signal 7, temporary. They're taking off. Head northbound Lafayette.
All right, a chase, and then 4 hours of a standoff, and then they shoot the suspects. This kind of stuff is going on all over the place. Capitol Police issue shelter-in-place order following report of possible active shooter in D.C. Well, somebody called 911 and reported it, and that's all they need to order a shelter-in-place for everybody, in the neighborhood. But there was nothing. There was nothing. Fencing has been installed around the entire U.S. Capitol complex in Washington, D.C., ahead of Donald Trump's imminent arrest at the nearby federal courthouse. Oh, God, those MAGA people, get the fences up. Make sure that nobody wearing a red hat is going to be able to access the Capitol because they could be insurrectionists. Everything is a fucking staged play in our country. Asylum seekers cleared from sidewalk outside Roosevelt Hotel. Good. Yeah, I'll link to it if you want to watch it. 2 women were robbed on the street, and they talk about their experience with police. Well, I'm actually going to play some of it.
The scream of a mother walking with a stroller to pick up her daughter from daycare as she was attacked and robbed in broad daylight. It happened at the corner of Sanchez and Clipper Street in San Francisco's Noe Valley neighborhood on June 26. The mom, who we kept anonymous, says she briefly checked her iPhone before crossing the street.
In that moment, somebody attacked me from behind, grabbed my phone. I instinctually grabbed it back. Don't recommend that. He was wearing a ski mask and a hoodie, and he shoved me to the ground forcefully, along with my stroller.
Surveillance footage sent to the I-Team shows the juvenile suspect sprint into a stolen silver Kia Soul and drove away as the mom screamed out for help.
Somebody called the police.
After filing a police report, the mom says she struggled to get any response from investigators.
I tried so hard to activate the police around my attack. I felt like I was dismissed as like a phone robbery, but this was a violent, targeted attack on women.
The next day, she went to the Mission Police Station determined to get help. But on her way there, she passed another victim of the same crime getting treated by an ambulance. Another mom en route to pick up her children from school, attacked and robbed of her iPhone on the same street just before 3 p.m.
I had gotten a call, so I picked up. It was the one day I didn't have my earbuds with me. They were charging at home. So I had just picked up the call.
Police say that's when the alleged assailant struck again. Surveillance video from a Tesla parked across the street shows this time the suspect punched her in the face.
I felt violated in many different ways. The first thing you think about is your kids, because you're like, who's going to watch after them? You're just broken.
Turns out these 2 women aren't alone. Another victim wrote the I-Team, reporting 2 teenagers, quote, beat me over the head from behind with a bat, while the other stole my iPhone. Police say these attacks are part of a string of at least 11 robberies that happened across the city within a 2-day period of June 26th and 27th. Many of these attacks happening within 20 minutes of one another, all connected to a single group of teenagers.
We began piecing it together and realizing these were part of a series. We've made 1 arrest so far. We've recovered a stolen vehicle, but we still have a lot of work to do.
But the 2-day crime spree didn't end there. Victims tell the I-Team the next day, another robbery spree targeted women in parts of Soma, the Tenderloin, Union Square, and Noe Valley.
And we do have some more suspects. We're confident we're going to be making some arrests.
Police records analyzed by our media partners at the San Francisco Standard found at least 22 reported cell phone robberies from June 23rd to July 4th. 15 targeted women. At least 7 of those cases reportedly involved juveniles. In those cases, many of the women tracked their assailants after the attacks using the Find My iPhone feature.
It travels. So I saw mine go to Market Street. I saw it ultimately end up in Oakland.
3 of the moms targeted told the I-Team they tracked their iPhones to a flea market at the Oakland Coliseum swap meet.
You have 10 or 11 women who all have the GPS location of attackers that are attacking one woman after the other about 20 minutes apart over a 2-day spree. There must be an avenue for using that data to capture them before they hit someone with a bat or punch someone in the face. I personally experienced that data is not used at all.
One of the moms even emailed the SFPD investigator assigned to her case screenshots showing the moving location of her stolen iPhone.
But it's moving around. Like, there's some activity there. The police officer wrote back to me, oh, that means it's no longer our problem. You need to reach out to the Oakland police officers to, address this now.
She says she did that, but kept getting a busy signal.
This just seems like an absolute shame.
Now, one juvenile was arrested in late June. Witnesses told us he was seen sprinting out of a stolen car at the top of Potrero Hill.
Everything is collapsing. here, Bellingham, Massachusetts, a tractor-trailer truck crashes through into a home. Into a home. Driver in critical condition. Oh my God, that is, it's really. You know, what you see here, just multiply it by 10 or 20 times. Cars going into homes, trucks going into homes, you know, cars just erupting in fire, in flames. There's so much on a daily basis going on. So the driver's in critical condition. Hope no one was in the home. Okie dokie. Surprises are happening all over. A study. Huge numbers of kids permanently damaged by lockdowns. I will post the link to this if you care to read about these damages to the kids. But of course, there would be damages to the kids, you know, with the masks and the lockdowns and the devastating effects on the development of children, with half of all parents in the UK reporting serious deterioration in emotional and social skills of their kids. Just what's needed, right? Yeah. All right, it's 8:30. I want to show you a video that I downloaded, and it is on, let's see, Rafa Goes Around. Rafa Goes Around. I came across this video just, you know, in the YouTube feed, and I want to show you what Americans are oh God, you know, oh, we're the best and everybody wants to come here, and we have lived, you know, it's kind of like a third world country compared to other countries. For decades and decades. But I'm just going to play a few minutes of this video. It's amazing. The experience of riding a subway in America versus China. And when you think about all of the people who have been pushed onto the tracks, especially the New York subways, pushed onto the tracks, and I know South Korea, I know China, I know Taiwan, they have subways, Hong Kong as well, they have subways where there is a partition along the track when the trains are not there. You can't push anybody onto the track. It's impossible. So the train comes in, the train doors open, and then there's partition doors that open. Gee, I don't think that would be very costly to do, but we don't, right? And our subway systems are such, it's disgusting. But all of the violence and yada, 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 you're not finding that in a whole lot of Asian countries. So, very interesting video. Whoops. What is this? Wrong one.
There have been at least 2 fires inside subway cars over the past 5 days.
On the subway in Brooklyn, we know at least 13 people are hurt.
New subway crime surging in New York City. The MTA.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I am in the nice city of New York, here in the United States of America. As you can see, I am in a subway car. This is New York City Metro, New York City subway, the infamous subway that is connecting millions of people every day in this city. And I just came here to make this video to try to have a feeling and make a short comparison between this subway system and some of the coolest, most modern subway systems in China. So I've received so many comments about the videos I've made of subways in China. Many complaints about the subway in New York, saying it's all dirty, outdated, and I have to come here by myself to take a look and check it out and compare.
Less than 30 years ago, in China, then a country with a population of just over 1.1 billion inhabitants, you could only find subway systems in 3 cities. If you didn't live in Beijing, Tianjin, or Shanghai, underground travel was a complete mystery. Today, there are 45 metro systems in operation, with around 300 lines, with expansions and brand new systems in the pipeline, making subterranean transit accessible to some 360 million people. New lines grew quickly in cities concentrated in the densely populated southeastern region. As of 2022, the total length of metros in China's urban areas cover more than 9,500 kilometers. The scale and speed of development of China's rail system is unprecedented. Public transit provides relief from China's urban traffic congestion. When you think of New York City, the iconic subway system often comes to mind. But how safe is it to ride the New York City subway? The New York subway system is one of the world's largest, oldest, and most complicated, with 472 stations. But crime and fear has become a real issue for the system.
This train car filling up with smoke, and you can see passengers covering their faces.
The overall subway crime rate spiked in April 2020. As COVID-19 gripped New York City. But now, riders who were driven away by the pandemic are returning to the system. But perhaps more slowly because of headlines about stabbing, robberies, and people being shoved in front of trains by strangers.
We were using the subway going uptown, and there is a big delay of these trains because somebody got injured. Probably somebody tried to kill himself on the tracks, and now the whole system is delayed. Now we gotta change the train to go there. Another of the issues and complaints from many of the users of subway here in New York, it's safety. Like right now, it's nighttime and we are going to Midtown. We are in downtown right now. And basically the station is empty, not many people, and it doesn't feel safe at all. Like there's only one agent in the entrance, but all the tracks are super empty and kind of creepy.
But crime is not the only issue here. Many city residents have said they feel threatened by homeless and mentally ill people in the transit system.
Violently shoving another woman into an oncoming train in the Times Square subway station.
It sounds like the situation is out of control. And it is hard to believe that in a city as iconic as the Big Apple, you can see so little effort to control the countless safety issues that happen every day.
Something that got my attention recently, I've been in major stations here in New York City. Like this is Penn Station, and last night we were at Times Square and we saw some police officers in these stations. So I wonder if this is something new. I'm not sure. because, as I said, safety was one of the issues, or is one of the issues when you're using the subway system here in New York. Actually, most of the city, depending on the time, you need to be aware because it might be a little bit like unsafe. However, it got my attention that I've seen some police officers in this station. So my people or my subscribers here in New York, how does it work? It's like all the time it's like that? Or is it something new? Or it's like they're trying to implement like a safety thing around here? Or how does it work? Let me know because I'm really, really curious about this.
China's first subway system was launched in 1971 in Beijing and was named as Line 1, but it was snail's pace growth. Nevertheless, the booming Chinese economy following its opening up in the 1980s generated demand for an efficient urban transit system. The extraordinary infrastructure expansion has produced spectacular results, with 9 of the world's 12 largest subway networks located here in China, including cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Chengdu, Hangzhou, Wuhan, and Nanjing. There is one key difference between the subway systems we can find in the US and the ones in China, and it is standardization. While in America, most of the cities use different type of trains and tracks for each system, in China, the big majority of the cities use the same type of trains and tracks. I am not sure about the reason why this is happening in America, but here in China, this is directly related to the importance that the authorities and the designers put on the efficiency when they plan and build infrastructure. To sum up, in China, government is making smarter choices for the benefit of their people. While in America, the government is more likely to benefit corporations rather than regular people like you and me.
Even though the train system, the railway system here in the United States is not the best in the world, it certainly has a very beautiful and impressive station. This is Grand Central here in New York City, and despite having a very horrible and a little bit dirty subway system, this station is really, really impressive.
The last time I was in Grand Central, I was amazed at how they might have done a renovation, they might have, cleaned it up, but I was amazed at how dirty it was and how many stores or, they have these food courts or whatever in there that were shut down. They were really kind of skimpy little places. But he goes to the Philadelphia subway system, and he was scared there, and he said, I think I'm just going to be taking a taxi in Philadelphia. Asked Carol about pinball preparedness. He was calling Carol a liar back some time ago, and she addressed it completely. I have no idea. I can't remember. I was a liar? I don't remember that. Huh. Oh well. I've been called a whole lot of things in 12 and a half years, so I can't remember all of them. Plus, China has a payment system where you don't have to pay, one price. You pay a different price for how far you go. So if you wanted to go 2 stops, you pay 50 cents. You pay 50 cents. You want to go 2 stops on a New York City subway? How much are the subways? Cecilia Amorati. Because they just kept going up, going up. I don't know how much they... Cecilia, are you still in our chat? How much is the subways and buses in New York? Oh, yeah, well, as a New Yorker, I really miss it. But I miss the old New York. I don't miss the new one. It has changed considerably. But like San Francisco, New York is going down. Like Chicago. Anyway, okay, you don't have any idea because you don't use public transportation, okay. They might have I'm sure they have monthly passes, but still, it's very expensive. So, oh boy, oh boy. There is one thing that's still around here, crickets. They can get pretty loud. So we got the crickets. But again, it's not completely dark. Are you hearing any birds out there? There are no birds out there. None. Oh wait, I hear geese. I heard a couple of geese. I don't know where they went. I know, the fares go up, the service gets worse, it gets more violent. We're schmucks. I'm sorry. Americans are schmucks. We just bend over and take it constantly. Yeah, well, look. We've allowed ourselves to get poisoned. And we didn't protest to stop GMOs. We protested, please just label our foods. Please, could you just label our foods so we know what we're eating? Okay, we'll slap organic on packages. Oh, thank you. And you're not eating organic. Yeah, stupid Americans. Yeah, and I frankly, actually, there was another video that I guess I'll play tomorrow, and 2 videos. They were Patriot Nurses video. Oh, let me play this.
And of course, they didn't like it. And it's just a good example of, could everybody just stop the posturing? Don't pretend that you love migrants so much, and then when we send them to you, you don't like them. You know? You're full of shit, and we can see that. Yeah, you liked them when it wasn't your problem because you're not a border state. And then when they show up in Chicago and New York, you're like, what the f***? What are we going to do with these people?
The numbers of the migrants in New York City has gone up from 90 to 107,000. And here, Maine has a very tiny population. It's Maine and Montana, I think, this small, or Wyoming, smallest populations in the country. Maine, I think, has 1.2 million. Yes, it is. Here in Maine, they are building units of housing for 500,000 migrants. I want to say that's a typo, maybe 50,000 migrants. But still, when you have such a small population and you're bringing in, tens of thousands of migrants into a state like Maine, wow, you are setting up the destruction of that state. So, migrants, the shelter I'm in is evicting me over a mistake they say they made, but buying a 2020 car for a biological man there at the shelter 4 days who claims he's a woman. Evil is out in the open. Yes, it for sure is. I don't know what to eat anymore. But I was a little upset this morning when I realized I'm going to be here until Monday, and I emptied the refrigerator out. I'm like, oh. Every move gets harder and harder. Every move gets harder and harder. The cats won't come in the cabin. And I am like, please, babe, don't take off for 12 days. Please don't. Don't do that. Be around. I need you to be around on Monday. But you can't say that to a cat. So I'm a little nervous about that. The car, I was trying to, and what happened today was my upsetness was reignited. Because in Maine, the boxes that I had bought, and boxes now are pretty expensive. So I bought like $40 worth of boxes, but they were standard size. They were all the same size. And packing the car in Montana was relatively easy. Well, the Mainer subscriber took my boxes. Her mother died, and she took my box without even asking. I mean, I put them up in this shed that she has, and I put them up on just these, 2x4s that were going across. She fucking stole them, as far as I'm concerned. Never told me. And then kicks me out, and I go to look for the boxes, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So she took them, and then brought some boxes from some restaurant, and they were all different sizes, and I can't, my brain doesn't, it's not working very well. It is really not working very well. And I used to be kind of like this organized, I was so organized prior to Big Pharma and the stroke. But the stress has left me like, I can't figure things out. But I had friends call me to organize their closets. It was kind of like I was a idiot savant with organization. I could look at something and I could see it organized, and I would just get in there and start organizing. So to live now without that skill, it's very, very hard. And trying to pack the car, okay, I'm going to have to get rid of an awful lot. This is costly, moving. And I was trying to secure, because the boxes are not the standard size, so I'm trying to secure because I have to leave, an area for the cats. I don't want the boxes falling when I'm driving, so I was trying to tie them and secure them. Forget about it. There are certain things that, we're not equipped to do everything in terms of skills. And my skills have really declined. So I have to figure something out to, secure these boxes, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Some of us are far more along the path than others. That path of destruction. So, and Carol, you are still organizing, just differently. What the fuck? What does that mean? Just differently? Okay. All right. Whatever. No. At a time, you're out of your mind. That should be your username. All right, so it's 8:56. I say goodnight. And not so organized for my YouTube chat because I didn't get to an awful lot that I wanted to. And it's why I have to, this is the only thing I have now, doing this, to keep my brain going. That's why I keep doing it. If I stopped for a period of time, I know that it would be a real challenge for me to get back into it. So I keep going. It's like habitual. But I've always been this type of person. I've always been, this is, as an attorney, what you do is research and communicate it back, either writing or verbally, so it's kind of a hard wiring that I don't feel it's loosening up, but I just keep at it. And, it's getting harder because it gets embarrassing at this point. It actually gets embarrassing because nobody's doing anything really, so do I think it's important to pay attention to what is happening on a daily basis? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's important for people to speak out about what is going on? I think it's the most important thing that we could be doing. But my channel's going down, my subscriber number's going down. There's a whole lot that I'm just thinking, I have little time left. No, even mailing some things, I mean, it would, first of all, I would have to unpack boxes. Some of them are heavy. I don't want to touch what's in the car. I have clothing that I'm just going to have to get rid of because there's limited space. And, I don't like living this. This has been extremely difficult, very difficult to stay up and positive. It's for the cats because I can't put them down. I just can't. I can't. I love them. I can't do it. But my life has gone to shit. And I needed to get out as soon as possible because they will not come in the cabin. I can't Bandit, now that I'm sitting here, she will come in the morning and jump where the wood stove is because it's up. She hates going on the floor. So I have to pick her up. She'll sit on my lap. But, little one is really hurting because he was always the big one wanting to lay on my lap, lay on my chest when I'm, in bed. And he will not come in. So when you see this happening with the cats, when you see no wildlife, when you don't, I was talking to the owner of the cabin yesterday, I think, and he's amazed that I don't see any snakes, the snakes in the wood pile that's outside of the cabin, and just no bugs. I've sent him video of there's no bugs. The lights are on outside, no bugs. I keep this door open right here, until I'm ready to just go to sleep. No bugs. The door's open. There are no bugs. And it's been humid and it was raining today and it's very, something's very, very off here. It's very off and it's scary, and I feel, physically I have felt like crap. But, I'm sensitive to the frequencies no matter where I go. And it's become kind of like a joke to continue living. It's like, now an awful lot of you have reason. You've got family, you've got, your own kids, or you've got stable life, you got familiarity. When you've been booted out of all of that, it's like, this is what you're living now? You can't find anyone trustworthy in real life. Cyber, there's no continuity in cyber relationships. There's no, they come and go. It's very hard. Real life, and look, people have claimed that I'm addicted to the internet or my computer or whatever. Oh, no, I am not. No, I am not. I would ditch it in a heartbeat for real life again. There's a reason why they have brought us all into the cyber world, because creating real bonds in the cyber world is almost impossible. It's very difficult to do. So, anyway, be a force of good. Yeah. Help those. Get involved in your community. Help those in your community. Find out what's going on in your community. Help the elderly in your community. Be a helpful, trustworthy human being. And that requires living honestly and speaking honestly. And that's very hard for Americans especially, because we are the people of the lie. So, on that note, I say, stay safe, situational awareness, always, 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 and good night and good luck. Ciao.